Hi everyone. I've had so many lovely messages from everybody asking me to do some more shows. So I thought today we are having a proper Cape Town storm, gale force winds and rain and everything else. So today is the perfect day to do something. And I'm going to do moussaka, but I'm going to do a new recipe that I found, which is intriguing. Not my usual one, and it's I've got to read this guy's name. So I apologize to any Greek people for mispronunciation. Akis Petritsikis, I think. And it's quite a novel way of doing it. And I've never seen moussaka done with courgettes before and not layered the same way. So we're going to try this one because I love to see recipes being reinvented and done in a different way. So it looks pretty cool. And what I've done is I've got 2 big potatoes which I've sliced, and I've shredded some thyme leaves. I've got 6 small courgettes, but the recipe says 2 large ones. I've got an onion which is going to go in with the potatoes. I've got 600 grams of mince. I've got 2 courgettes, 2 medium-sized courgettes, eggplant, aubergine, which I have thinly sliced. So this starts off with the onion and the sliced potato, a little bit of olive oil, and then it goes into the baking dish and it goes into the oven for 20 minutes, and then we build from there. It's quite an interesting thing. So I don't have the right size sort of medium dish for this, but I'm going to try and use this and hope that it fits in. Otherwise I've only got a really massive one. But this should all cook down a bit, so it should be hopefully all right. So we're going to flatten this, and this is going to go into a 200-degree oven for 20 minutes. So we want it to be just softening and a little bit sort of color on it, but not obviously too done, because this is going to be going into the oven 3 times like that. Okay, let's see. So now I'm lightly oiling and salt and pepper the eggplant, which is going to go in next. So not much oil, but it's just to lubricate it slightly. You don't want it to soak up more than is absolutely necessary. So that's going to go in next. And in the meantime, I'm going to do the mince layer, which is going to be first onions and garlic, which is going to be fried off. And then it's going to have the mince added to it with a bit of cinnamon and cloves. We're going to fry up the onions and garlic. And then we're going to add the meat to that. So this is not how I would do it, but I'm following his method exactly. So the mince now gets added to this, and then I'm going to add the spices, which is half a teaspoon of cinnamon and about a quarter of a teaspoon of cloves. So if you want a vegan version, then use some nice lentils or vegan mince and plant milk. Vegetarian, you can just use vegan, vegetarian mince or lentils, and then carry on with cheese and your normal milk. I'm going to add a touch more olive oil to this. And turn the meat up to caramelize it. I was meant to have added a tablespoon of tomato paste before the meat, and I didn't because I don't have tomato paste. But what I do have is tomato sauce from pizza that I've made yesterday, and I've cooked this right down to concentrated, which is going to be, you know, my attempt at the tomato paste, because we are going to add tomatoes to it later, but at least it's a slightly more concentrated tomato flavor because I have cooked it down. I've seasoned this with salt and pepper. I'm not adding any more thyme to this because I've got fresh thyme in the potatoes and onions and fresh thyme in the courgettes. So I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to add a tin of tomatoes And then this needs to be quite a dry mixture. So we're going to let this fry down, because the interesting part about this, and I mean, I'm sure there are many Greek households that do this, but I've never done this before, where you're adding a third of the bechamel sauce to the meat mixture to make it sort of more gluggy than juicy, because it should be able to hold in a slice, is what he was saying. So that's what we're going to do, exactly as per his recipe. And I'm even going to make the bechamel the way he makes it, which is also slightly different to the way I would normally make it. But we're going to try and do this as authentically as possible, because there's no point in trying a new way if you're not going to actually try the new way. So this is now going to cook down until it is nice and thick and drier. And then we're going to set this aside. Time for the next layer. Geez, we've had to open the door for extra light, and it's like unbelievable out there. Okay, so here is the layer of potatoes, right? So now we're going to put on the layer of eggplant. So you can see it's colouring a little bit, but there's absolutely no way that it's cooked. So we want to sort of thin out the layers of this. So most people are probably familiar with moussaka being like a lasagna with layers of aubergine or eggplant. So this is definitely a different way of doing it, and I've never been to Greece, so I would love to know how people make it, you know, in their homes and so on. But this guy is a proper Greek chef, so this is going to be an interesting method. So I'm going to push this down a bit, and then I'm going to put it back into the oven. Another 20 minutes at 200. So as you can see, this is quite nice and thick now. I'm going to switch that off and leave that. We're going to incorporate the bechamel in here. Now we're going to do the bechamel. So we've got 100 grams of butter, 100 grams of flour, and 750 mils of milk. So I'm going to do it as per his method. So that is to incorporate the flour and make almost like you would a choux pastry. It's going to be really thick and nice, and then you're going to add the milk really slowly to it. And he says that it somehow makes the bechamel a lot richer if you do the milk tiny little bits, increments, and bring your sauce together that way. So that's what we're going to do. So you don't want to colour the butter at all. Add all the flour. So as you can see, it's quite a thick roux. And now we're going to start adding the milk. And it's not hot milk. He says that this helps the flour fully absorb the milk. So this is like, when I say it's like choux pastry, you've got that kind of vibe going on here. So you can see it's nice, thick and creamy. Add some more milk. Lump free and thick and creamy. A little bit more milk to add, and then we're going to add some parmesan to this. Last of the milk in, and then we're going to leave this until it just starts to bubble, and then it will have absorbed everything and be at the right consistency. Okay, this is just starting to bubble. So I'm going to switch this off. I'm going to add some Parmesan to it, and then I'm going to add 3 egg yolks to this. So it's going to be very rich, and some nutmeg. Three very different colored eggs, even though they're all free range. So this is now going to go in, and you need to give this a good whisk because you don't want the egg yolks to sort of cook without being amalgamated into this sauce. So this is going to enrich the sauce greatly. And then we're going to add some nutmeg. And not too much because nutmeg is quite strong. Then I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to this, not too much because obviously the Parmesan is salty, but it definitely needs some flavor. I'm going to add a little bit more nutmeg because I'm not picking up a huge amount coming through here. Okay, there you go. Give this a mix. And we're going to put this aside. Add a third of this bechamel. Complete estimation, of course. And then that is going to sit and wait to be put on the top of the vegetables, and then the bechamel will go on the top of that. So we've still got about 4 minutes or so for the eggplant, and then we're going to do the courgettes, which I've lightly oiled, seasoned with salt and pepper and with fresh thyme. That's going to go on for another 20 minutes. Then we're going to put the meat on, and then we're going to put the bechamel, and then that's going to go in for half an hour. So it is quite a laborious method, but that's kind of cooking with love, when you really spend that amount of time and energy on something to do each layer perfectly. And that's why I'm so interested to try this method, to see how it compares in flavor and everything else. Okay, next 20 minutes, next layer. All the courgettes go on. Don't want to leave all this lovely thyme behind. I spent ages shredding. Right, so that next layer goes in now for 20 minutes. Hopefully this will all fit in. It's going to be disastrous if it doesn't, but anyway. I really need to get one of those medium-sized baking dishes. Okay, that goes in for 20 minutes. Right, time has gone off again. So now we've got all the veg done. Now we're going to add the meat on top of this. Sure, I think we're going to make it. And then the bechamel now on top of that, and then in the oven for the last 30 minutes. I think I might have too much. Let's see. No, it'll be fine. Phew, lucky. So this, for those who are used to bukwerty, this is going to sort of, according to his picture, sort of almost forms a crust, because he says you shouldn't eat this immediately. You need to leave this for about an hour so that it sets. So let's just add some more parsley on the top. And then I'm just going to serve this with a lovely fresh salad. And then it'll just be a very simple one with nice lettuce and avo. And then that'll be it. So we're just going to clean up a little bit, and then we are going to do a quick salad, and then everything will be ready. So remember to put your avo, excuse the Van Morrison in the background, but it's that kind of a day, with a fire, and soon I'm going to crack the red wine. And putting the avos into soak in cold water so that it doesn't go brown. And the salad is very simple. It's, oh, that's loud. Okay, so we've turned the music down a little bit. So the avo is going to sit in this cold water until I'm ready to use it. And then we're going to add, we're not making a Greek salad because I've got lettuce involved here, and I've got no onions and tomatoes or olives. So I'm just doing a simple cos lettuce with cucumber and some avo and feta cheese, because you have to. So that's going to be very simple, and then it's just going to be dressed with olive oil and lemon, and that is a lovely fresh element that goes with the very rich moussaka. There you go. So the time has just gone off for 30 minutes, and that means the moussaka is ready. So I'm going to take it out to show you, but I am going to leave it as he suggests. I mean, look at that. That looks magnificent. You can see it's made a proper, like a, that's what I said about boertie. It's like a, almost a crust. So we're going to leave this now for an hour and let it just settle and relax, and then we will have it with the salad, which is now made. I've added the avo to that. Okay, so we are now just going to serve this. So it's had the required resting time, and we're going to see what it looks like. Well, that looks pretty good. So enjoy this. This is a modern take on moussaka, and we'll see what it's like. Until next time, whenever that is.